I don't know how I look on the screen, but I'm okay.
Very much so. Welcome on the show. It's yet another week, and we're grateful to be here. We're getting better. I'm getting a little relaxed after the whole episode of the book launch and the birthday. Much, much better. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Professor Mimi, amazing individual you are. You are doing so very much than we can only imagine. I know you do quite a bit, but what you did today, it just took it to another level to actually. And I'm really interested. We have a topic today, but I'm thinking I've been with you all day, the whole day program. And to see the caliber of people that you put together there blows my mind. Highly intelligent people of high caliber, high places, and I like the diverse of it. So when I saw your invitation, you put me on it before. I thought I would be in Thailand today, and I was off it, but I was still happy to really come and listen to what is going to happen. So thank you for still allowing me to be part of the panel. But to see people in the politics, people in the academia, people in economics, people in IT and the AI, it just makes it really, and it was well assimilated. It was the message, the delivery was clear. It was simple, and you could understand even when the dean of the faculty of Melbourne University was talking, and all these people.
Engineering, yeah.
Yeah, engineering, yeah. So thank you so much. I would love you to talk. How long have you been planning these? For you to be able to pull these people together.
Thank you, first of all, Pastor Mrs. Mama Temi. It's always good to be here, and I'm so elated that you got so much out of it today, because I got so much out of you and every other person as well today. I feel so honored, and I know people, they don't realize some of what I do, especially in that academic space. So sometimes, when they come close to things like that I've organized and that was put together in the last 4 weeks or less.
That all?
That's all. Because we've got this big conference happening in Melbourne as of tomorrow. And, I'm speaking at the the World Chamber Congress, which is hosted by the Victorian government and the International Chamber House here in Victoria. And it brings together over 1,200 people from businesses, and you can go online and just look at World Chamber Congress, which is literally referred to as the Business Olympics, because it is the who is who in. That is how it's commonly referred to. So if you just put Business Olympics Melbourne 2025, it should come up. And so being invited to speak, and I was like, oh, we need to therefore have a side event so that some of the people attending, but really to open up this opportunity to others, but also really just looking at my academic platforms across different areas. The AI, I'm currently supervising a few students as well in that space, but also looking at the public health, the policy, and engineering management. So when you look at what we've had today, the theme or today's title for the colloquium was health policy, and engineering management. And it was
Yes.
done in partnership with my colleague from the University of Melbourne, but also in a conjunction and association with some of the members of parliament. And as you could see, both sides of parliament, as in the government and the opposition, were represented. But when you looked at the room in terms of who was there invited as a speaker, yes, it
Mm.
was academic heavy, it was policy heavy, but it was also industry heavy.
Mhm.
And so, and I just want to say people should not feel like they were excluded. It was a
Yeah.
high level strategic engagement. And this is for the for the Australian African Institute that we have a mandate from the African Union Commission to have here in Australia, which is, so we needed to have this space to be able to just share ideas at some of the highest levels. And when you
Mm.
listen to some of the industry partners, especially looking at how AI can be used for good, which was one of the main themes that
Mhm.
we focused on today, and really thinking about how are we in the diaspora of African heritage benefiting from the fourth industrial revolution, but how can we use that to make it transformative for those who may not have that opportunity, but really focusing as well on transferable skills. Hence, when you listen to those presentations, there were people who came from industry, they're generating the data. There were researchers and academics
Yes.
demonstrating how they're using this data, or how within the university context, the knowledge that is being generated and how that can now be translated and transferred into industry, and of course within communities to impact and improve outcomes. There was a lot around health equity. There was a lot around engineering management. You know, how do you use solar power to improve health? There are so many things. So I know it was very thought provoking. It was
Mhm.
transformational. It was a
Mhm.
full house, but at the University of Melbourne. And for people who don't know, University of Melbourne is number one university in Australia and in the top 20 in the world.
You will not.
Uh, and I happen to also be an alumni of the University of Melbourne because that's where I did my Masters of Public Health.
Mm.
So there is still a strong connection with the institution at a personal and at a professional level. I work at Federation University, but also my work in the policy area. You know, I have been teaching policy to postgraduates, as in Masters of Business Administration, Master of Health, Masters, you know, people in these health related fields, but master students for quite some time. I have supervising students, you know, at the master's, but also at the PhD levels in this health and policy leadership areas as well. So I think all of that was in the room. But then
Mhm.
we had, you know, entrepreneurs, because being a side, deciding to make this as a side event of the business Olympic, it was important to also have some business influential leaders in the
Wow.
room. So
Yeah.
the likes of you, you've got a health background, you've got a business background as well. But also, it was really important to also have people who had that ground knowledge of the diverse African communities in Australia. And this, and when you looked at the room, it was north to south, east to west, and global.
Yeah.
You know, from South America to Europe to, you
Mhm.
know, every continent and every place was represented. But when
Yeah.
you look at Africa, you know, from Egypt right down to Southern Africa, from West Africa right through to East Africa, across Central Africa, everybody was in the room as well. And that
Mhm.
was very purposeful, because for me, it's really important to highlight the skills, but the capability and how transformational, you know, people who have decided to call Africa home from the migrant communities of Africa, who are experts like myself, you know, the transformative work that they're doing and the impact. towards our community. So thank you for honoring the invitation. But then rounding it up later on at Parliament House with the
Yes.
parliamentarians, we finished up by having tea and just having that roundtable discussion,
Right.
um, which was like a close conversation. Again, I felt that was really, really powerful in terms of uh, 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 discussing the policy agenda. We had, current ministers, but also, for example, the former Speaker of the House was there. But then,
Mhm.
you had the people, others from the shadow government as in the opposition as well, present around the table. And I must say, these people have known me for a very long time because I work with them in different areas because I don't say a lot, probably of what I just get things done quietly, etc. And there's a lot around the policy area in order to transform policy. So for me, it was really pleasing to see everybody leave and say, this was so useful. We are glad. And when is the next colloquium?
Yes.
So I'm
We can't
looking
wait.
forward to with all of you, your support. There will be no colloquium without people like the likes of you. The
Mhm.
panel that you were on, it was a very mixed panel.
Love
you
it.
know you had academics on that panel, you
Mhm.
had industry business leaders, but you
Mhm.
had some of our
Yes.
brightest minds
Mhm.
doing medical imaging, for example. And the
Yeah.
focus was what? Using technology, using AI in improving and transforming health. So I
Wow.
hope it was beneficial and it was useful.
Even seeing all those bright minds, those students and the freshly graduated PhD student there, Judy, all of them amazing, and they're all Africans. One thing that I also like there is that even the other culture in the house, they were receptive. They
Yeah,
were. It was a safe space to actually
yeah.
have that conversation. So I don't know if you know all of these people personally, knowing that they have the African interest at mind, because a lot of times you're not able to talk, you have to be politically correct because you don't
Yeah.
know elephant in the house, but in the room. But today, people, I could see people were nodding their head, they were all in agreement with what we were talking about when it comes to Africa in diaspora and the acceptance and the representation of African people in different portfolios. Everybody acknowledged that, yes, we need more.
Well, I probably knew 60% or 70% of the room because you send out the invitations and then people
Mhm.
also invite other people. And that is normally the way it is. And I put forward some speakers and they're like, no, I am not going to speak, but I think I've got this fantastic person in our team who is going
Mm,
to cover this area on data, on imaging, on artificial intelligence, because
yeah,
that is the work that they do.
mm,
Looking at some of what was being discussed around the use of solar technology, AI, and health, and
mm,
how that can be used to transform healthcare. But
yeah.
so the diversity of the room, from China, to South America, Chile, to,
So,
Australia
Sally,
Islands, to
Sally,
name it.
yes. Mm,
Yeah. One thing academia or university has awarded me over the last 2 decades has been the opportunity to be able to connect with people, irrespective of who they are, and genuinely. Because when you are
mm,
standing in front of the classroom or in the lecture theater, so it's not a classroom, in front of the lecture theater or in front of the mantle, you are there to transform lives. And I
yeah.
have a vision all the time. When I in that room, in those rooms, when I leave the room, the person has to live with something, but myself, I also have to use it not only as a teaching experience but as a learning experience. So continuous improvement, not just
Mm,
for my students. And I say to them, I'm not here to make it hard for you. I'm here to make it easier. I'm here to facilitate and ensure that the goal that you've set for yourself, you're going to achieve it. When I taught undergraduates many years ago, I know people look at me and say, but doesn't she look like an undergraduate? But that's a story for another time. But when I used to teach undergraduates, lots of them were there because, they finish high school and they have to go to uni,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And they do particular courses because their parents want them to do and have certain life securities.
Yes.
Um, then when I transition, and I've only been teaching undergraduates now for quite some time, it is different because most of the postgraduate students, they're coming there, they have a purpose.
Mm.
They
They
want
want
to do that
more.
particular degree or that particular postgraduate course because they want to achieve
Yes.
something in their career and in
Yeah.
their own personal lives as well. So
Yes.
they are there to learn, but they also come in with a wealth of experience.
That's true.
So normally from the first day, I try to get to know the students and I try to build a relationship with them. The postgraduate classes, as you know, they're not normally very, very large classes, but you have enough students that you can build almost like personal relationships with them and you know their goals. I have students, for example, managing 100+ clinicians, and they're finishing up their masters to take them to that more senior executive level. I have students who are there because this is what they need to do to get the promotion. Because until they have their masters, and for some that I had a cohort at one point that were all Hong Kong based during that COVID time. And I then learned if they did not have their MBAs and their masters, they could not really progress to the next career level. So these are students who are there for a purpose. They are
Right.
engaged, they are focused,
Yeah,
and they need
serious.
somebody that they can look up to at the intellectual level, at the personal level, at the professional level, but really a type of a holistic approach. And I hope that I bring that. And today, of course, with the business side, I said, I'm going to wear La Guapa, so I'm going to stand up.
Yeah. Everybody was talking, even all the men were talking about like Guapa today. I'm like, okay.
Like our wives need La Guapa.
They do need La Guapa, and I told them that I've got the La Guapa scarf for me as well. Uh
You
yeah.
looked amazing, but yeah,
From
but that is a side of me, like one of the parliamentarians who has known me for years, and we talk all the time. And she's like, I did not know that you actually have a fashion line and a collection. And I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, there are a lot of things about me that I don't say because I don't have to.
Yeah, but I want to speak to that. I think you should start saying some to us and to the community because, like you just spoken about transferring skills, knowledge, awareness. If you don't say, they're not going to know. One thing I also want to point out here is that when you call people, I just pray that they come because if the forum you call people to is the forum that they can actually fit in. So no one is feeling less or anything. I mean, when I saw the list of the people that are talking, I saw all the doctors, all the professor, all these things. I mean, I've got a doctorate of theology, but I'm not using that. Now, there's a whole lot of doctors. So people might think they're going to be intimidated, but then there's community people. And the people there today were talking about how our children are going to be able to be supported in educational sector because that
Correct.
there's a whole lot of um, prejudice, racism, biases, things that are going on in the schools, and the
Yeah.
kids are getting in trouble. So there was a conversation around that as well. So it's
Yeah.
actually not only about academia, but also about life and about living and about community building and nation building as well. So I just want to say, when they see all the doctors and profs and you call them, you're calling them for a reason. Maybe in the health sector, maybe in the business arena, maybe so you've got something to give. That's why Professor Mimi is calling you, because I think a lot of people might be a bit skeptical, not wanting to come and think it's all about academia. No, it's about business and it's about knowledge, skills, transferability as well. You also talk, and what I like today also is they broke the AI down to what and where can we use it in our community or in our businesses. They simplify it. It's like there's a task given to us to go and now think, because that's where the world is going, and it's good for us to follow suit, because otherwise you'll be left behind. AI is here to stay, and it's really crippling into everything that we do, and we forget that we're already using it. You're using Siri in your car, you're using
Yeah.
Siri on your watch, you're talking to this and talking to that, you're even talking to your gates, you're talking to your
Yeah.
blinds. These are all AI. So
Yeah.
what other way can you use it in a more productive way to enhance the nation, either in the health sector? So it's giving me even something to think about. What?
But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that. I think if you are an academic, and this is why we talk about translational research, and
Right.
that being able to transfer and have a discussion with people from non-academic backgrounds. Because
Mm-hmm.
when academics get together, we can speak jargon with each other in our respective fields.
Mm.
But we also need to be able to communicate that
Yes.
information
For
with
us,
people who
right?
are in industry,
Mm-hmm.
but also with communities. But also using whatever research you are doing needs to be research that is going to have a positive impact on the
Mm.
community, but also solve a problem.
Yes, true.
So some people will talk about they finish this qualification or they finish this degree, they can't find work. I always ask the question, show me and tell me the impact and the
That's
change or the problem that you are trying to solve. Because
mm-hmm.
when you are doing a PhD, for example, there's one key thing. You need to be doing it to close a knowledge gap. And
Mm.
if you're not going to close a knowledge gap, it is going to become problematic, right? Because then we start asking what's the quality of what that person has done as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you saw today was literally how scientists,
Mm.
how academics can literally turn the conversation, but also apply their research into practice. And this is where we start really talking about that translational research and skills
Mm.
focused
Yeah.
outcomes, because you want that work to have, or whatever research you've done, to have impact. And you saw a showcase of some of the scientific papers,
Yes.
and some of the work that we are doing. And again, I don't say a lot of what I do because I do a lot in the policy spaces. So stuff can really sometimes be behind the scenes, right? But it's really, how do you influence, how do you impact policy such that it has a positive outcomes for the general masses, especially for what I call minoritized communities.
Yeah, I like
I did
that.
not say
We're a majority group, but they minoritized us. I like
them,
that.
they minoritized. It doesn't
Minoritized
matter
us.
where. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because when they talk about minority population groups or minority groups, I was like, no, they're actually the majority
We're
everywhere
the
else.
majority.
Most
Yeah.
of the world lives in the south of
Mm.
the global on the world in the world. They don't live in the north. They're in the south. When you take away, for example, India, China, and the African continent, and probably most of South America, what
Mm.
you've taken away, what percentage of the global population? 60,
Maybe 80.
70%, right?
Yes. 70,
Maybe
80.
even more. Correct.
Yes.
So they're not minority, they're minoritized.
True. I
And this
like
is
that.
what,
Yeah, I like it. I was gonna also say I like when you said that they should not be doing something for us, they should be doing something with us. And so there is a voice for African group community in the room, even amidst all the AIs. I
yeah,
like that. I like the focus. Let's be focused there.
absolutely. I think it is essential because I think the error is one group has all the knowledge and all the
Mm,
solutions. That is a
mm,
colonized mentality, and that can be very Eurocentric.
mm.
For me, it
Yeah.
is really important that we look at Afrocentric knowledge. We have to think about indigenous knowledge, but we also have to think about the human capital within
Yeah.
us and amongst us, and how
That's
we
right.
harness that human capital to
Mm-hmm.
transform lives is essential.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to sit around the policy tables. As I said, and you know this, if you are not
At the
sitting
table.
around the table, you are on the
Maybe
menu.
you're part of the menu. I like that. So today we were not the menu, we were sitting at the table. And I love the fact that everybody understood what we said and it was highly validated. The other thing that you're doing also is with the students. A couple of the students
Yeah,
came and said, one that came from Ghana presented a fantastic research products. That was
yeah,
beautiful. And I saw what it was trying to do is something to identify, uh, AI to identify how to neutralize the chemical that is deposited by the waterside or in the riverine area to have a plant. Wow, a plant to neutralize all those chemical built in, and also an AI to be able to identify the it says something like anxiety, like agitation of the plants, like the plant they could feel when the plants are distressed, so to say.
absolutely.
Come on, even in Ghana.
Absolutely.
So a lot of that's fantastic. And then the students that came and said they didn't even know any of their community, nobody is welcome to their university. They were so happy to be there today, and they want that connection for them to be able to identify themselves with the people group that they also come from. So that's another contribution that you're making, helping these people to integrate very nicely, because to come here to do PhD is not an easy thing to do. PhD itself is heavy, and then the stress and everything, and not having people that you can just lean on somewhat, somehow. So you're creating that platform in this platform of your colloquium. That's one of the things that you're doing as well, which is it's generational and it's fantastic. I acknowledge that too.
Thank you so much. I have a very personal motto in that if it is not going to benefit the community, then I don't do it. And if it's not going to benefit the people, then I don't do it. And that is because years ago, I remember when I was a very young academic,
Mm, mm.
when I
I
was a
know.
young academic.
You're still young, baby. You're still like 60. No one will believe your age, by the way, so forget
Yeah,
it.
when I was a very young academic, one of the things my then PhD supervisor said to me was, because there was a piece of work I wanted to do, and he, she could see the research direction, and she said to me, if you publish this paper, it is going to disadvantage these communities more. And the reason, if and it was like, if you do research in this direction, the chances are you're going to have X type of outcomes. And that is going to validate and give people a weapon to use to marginalize some of those groups even more. And
Okay.
then she followed up by saying, remember this, any research that you do now on in the future, if it is going to put out a negative outcome, or it may disadvantage people who are already vulnerable. It doesn't matter how important, it doesn't matter how much pressure you are under to publish that paper, do not publish it.
That's
And I
good.
learned that when I served as a commissioner for the Victorian Multicultural Commission. One of the things that I learned, there was a policy paper that was commissioned by the minister and by the Minister for Multicultural Affairs at the time. And when the results came out, they did not share the result widely. They came to the commission, sat us commissioners around the table. We had a discussion. And it's like, we're not publishing it because it is going to cause more
Right.
harm than good. And yes, and some people are going to use it against the different communities. So it was embargoed, but then policy decisions were made. But then again, sitting in another room, one of the ministers said at one point that we talk about multiculturalism. And for some people, it is about food, it's about dance, and the cliches. Yes, these
Yeah.
things are important. They're
That's more.
identity markers, they're essential. But when you scratch beneath the surface, then that is where you see that people who say to you that they embrace multicultural Australia, that they embrace multiculturalism, some of those people, they don't actually believe in it. And because they want the
Wow.
superficial only. So again, that's digressing a little bit away from the topic of AI, transformative health, ethical use of technology, like some of the work that I'm doing in that policy space, for example, in point of contact care technology and the ethical use of the data that is
Yeah.
harnessed and harvested from that. And yes, another thing that is really important is that we've got ethical AI bias because of
Yeah.
who is building the system and how they are building the systems, right? So it's really important, and it is also really essential that we really think about these things when it comes to the use of these technologies. So there's just a lot that we can do. My presentations and other presentations that people will share with me is going to be uploaded on
Good.
the on our website for the Australian African Institute. So
Asterisk.
the African Science Research Innovation Council, we've got the Australian African Institute that we are establishing. The website is live, and I call people to just go on the register. You can submit your membership. At the moment, we've got leaders giving their voluntary time to make it take shape. And the whole idea is that we want to harness the expertise. We want to move away from the Eurocentric, where if a white person is not leading it, nothing wrong with a white person leading it, but you people have to lead it as well.
Yeah.
And you people need to follow and support your communities,
That's right.
because we want these platforms designed by you, for you, and for your use, because you have skin in the game. If it
Yeah.
is not going to benefit you, the information will benefit your auntie, your great aunt, your uncle, your cousin, or
That's very
someone else somewhere in the world.
That's very,
Thank you.
very true. I think my own key points today also was to uh, share that knowledge. If it doesn't benefit you, sometimes, like I said in the room, you might feel that you're not racist against, but that doesn't mean you will not have the knowledge of what racism means. And you might not even know what racism means, but so you should listen to someone that is telling you there is, so you
Yeah.
have that knowledge. For me, I think you got a lot more to do. This platform is highly needed, because otherwise, like you said, some European, they hijack it. Some unqualified entities, even amongst us, hijack these things and they're running with it only for their own selfish end, for their own benefit, but not for the benefit of others. So we need people that are selfless, like yourself. You're not needing all these little $1, $2, no more. We know your caliber, we know who you are, and your person. So you're not hungry to be able to be hijacking money. So you even when I know many years ago, even when you were using your own fund to look after a whole lot of African women. I've seen them even in your lounge room. I'm like, how did Mimi get to these people? Those are the people that nobody wants to sit with, but you sat with them. I've seen you many years ago. So I trust your vision. I trust the purpose for which you're doing all these things. So I'm saying to other people, you don't need to create another platform. When Professor Mimi has got this platform and she's got these people, at her beck and call. So you too can benefit, because today I got the phone number of all these people, like, oh my gosh, too many contacts that I got. So even if I want to do something now, all I need to do is to get you, and then things happen for me because you got that. And if you want to do something, I'm bringing all the people I have to you. The other thing I want to highlight is today that I'm very pleased with is that all the politicians in the House, they want the outcome, they want the what do you call the pilation of today's meeting. They want the imprint of everything that was this. They want to action. They really want to do something with it. So this gathering, your seminar and the consortium, is not the one that you do and then there's no end to it. This is actually going somewhere because they are requesting for the draft of it and they want to know how they can help. And somebody said today that they have not seen a lot of forums where you have the left and the right people in this around the same table and focusing on the same agenda, which is Afrocentric per se, and how we can use IT technology to advance our community, and they are ready to help us. Now, I was very pleased today. I was there the whole day. We left from from the Melbourne University, had a break, and then we went to the Parliament. I've been to the Parliament House a few times, but today's information was deeper than what I've experienced in the past. They were actually genuinely telling us from the fiber of it to the every bit of it, the diamond, the gold, whatever, the Queen Elizabeth. Very, very informative. I love it. And the former Speaker of the House, passionate man, really want to teach, really want to tell us all about it. Cedric, how many people will I mention? But I just want to personally say thank you. We have our topic is going to be next week topic. I'm not going to sleep on this today's presentation that was massive, powerful people, and the room was just nicely, and the number of people there was just really nicely put together. I love it. So when Professor Mimi calls you, that's all I want to say. You go. Because if you're not sitting at the table, you'll be part of the menu. And it doesn't matter when, and the problem we also have in Australia particularly is everybody wants to do their things. Australian people get confused. The government get confused. They don't want people doing the same thing that somebody else is doing. Let us come together, as a body. You might say the issue of Kenya is different from issue with Nigeria or Uganda, but let us support each other to actualize this project that we're all doing. And so we know, and we can have empathy for each other, because what touches my sister from another country touches me here. They look at us as one Black people in this nation. So it's about time we start to work together. I cannot advocate for that. Work together. Let us see our lives and the future of our children transformed positively in this country, because we can't continue to cry and be crying. They're telling us now the door is open. They want us to come, get the people, good people amongst you, to push something to them, give them something to work with, and they will see us transformed liberated, and they don't ask our children, how come you speak English? Because they're born here and they are Australians, same as
Uh,
us.
Thank you so much. I think that that last point is so critical and it is so essential. Visibility, support,
Yeah.
and collegiality. I think
Mm.
people just need to be collegial, but they
Yeah.
also really need to think about how do you influence and change policy. In
Yes.
and most often than not, people are like, "Oh, what are they gonna get out of it?" Well, think about your children. Think about your future generations. You are
Mm-hmm.
sitting here and you can put your vote somewhere. Is because generations before you made those sacrifices, so that
Right.
you can benefit from that today. And if
Mm.
we just revert back in the health and the policy discussions, the reason you can have some vaccines today that prevent you from particular illnesses and diseases is because other people before you sacrificed to
Mm.
be to be participants in
Mm.
a particular research. So literally, you need to really think beyond yourself or beyond self to
Yeah.
people, to population, but really to the future. And I think if that mindset is changed, but really that decolonization of the mind, one of the key things that we need to do through the Australian African Institute is to help people decolonize themselves. It
Mm.
is ingrained. And again, I don't know how we're going to use AI to solve this problem, but the fact that everybody in the most remote areas of the world have got access to mobile technologies means we can send messages and we know where people live, we know where the data is, we know how to use this data because we know how to analyze the data. And I think if we can use AI as a force for good to transform lives, to see ourselves as active participants
Yeah.
and developing and be part of this fourth industrial revolution, then we will be on track and we are going to be on par with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So I look forward to working with everybody in this space,
You're
regardless
on a
of your side of politics.
you're on a mission, and I've got a very simple solution I'm going to tell you. I
Yeah.
know this will work, and we'll continue to work together in unison. We will. But I've got a tip for you. We're going to have to call it a day now. See you next week. This is for the nation. This is for the African nation that we're working. I'm following Professor Mimi and all other people to work towards our freedom. You're not going to get it. You're just going to cry forever if we don't do this. So it's a very serious project she's doing. Very, very project uh, vision that she's going through. Listen to her, ask. I've been there and I believe it. And I know that at last, Africa, we will thrive continually. We're going to say goodbye for now. See you next week, as I said. Professor, well done. Can't be
Thank
prouder.
you so much. Thank you so much. I'm elated. Thank
Yeah,
you.
enjoy it. We love it. Bye for now.